What I really look for in an airline is quality of life and career progression. And GoJet was able to fulfill both of those needs.
They allow you to take yourself to wherever you want to go. If you want to go into the union, into management, into training, the opportunity is here.
They take the time to teach you. If you have a question, especially going through training, they were more than happy to help you.
I want to give a shout out to the maintenance department. As a captain, I feel like that's extremely important to be able to trust my equipment, and I feel like they are on top of it all the time.
To be honest, I would not want to work at any other regional airline.
Lieutenant Rebecca Seifer, Engineering Officer of Air Station Washington. We fly a C-37 Alpha and a C-37 Bravo, a G5, G550 Gulfstream aircraft. We call it a LRCA, a long-range command and control aircraft. And essentially those two aircraft are responsible for worldwide travel for our 6 principals that we fly, DHS and then VIPs within the Coast Guard community. I grew up on St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and I spent a lot of my time on the water, and the Coast Guard mission resonated with my own personal value system, and I loved the idea of traveling the world, meeting driven people who were passionate about camaraderie and doing a mission that was larger than themselves. That's what drew me to the Coast Guard Academy, and it wasn't until I got to the Coast Guard Academy that I had the exposure to aviation. My path to aviation is a little bit different than some people. I didn't look up at a sky at age 5 and point at a plane and say that's what I want to do. I didn't even think of it as an option for me. I remember being on a 378, it's a 378-foot cutter, and one of the chiefs said, hey, we've got a helo landing later if you want to be on the flight deck to help hold the fire hose. And I said, sure, let me, I'll go up there and I'll be a part of it. And I remember holding the hose. I probably looked amazed, and the chief said, I was a cadet at the time, you could be a pilot. And I said, no, I kind of laughed. And the chief was like, no, you're a cadet, like you could go that route, you just gotta apply. And I didn't know any of that, what that process would look like, but it was that chief who kind of sparked that it was something that I could do in the Coast Guard, and I started doing my research and seeing how I could do it. Flight school was the hardest thing I had ever done in my life. It was like drinking from a fire hose, being able to deal with failure, because at some point we all fail, and you can either bounce back from it or you can let it derail you and you just give up. And I was on the verge of thinking I'm not going to get my wings multiple times. I decided that the only way I was leaving flight school was going to be kicking and screaming. They were going to have to push me out. I wasn't going to give up, and I wasn't going to make that decision unless I gave it my all, 110%. If I put it all out there and I didn't make it, then that was so be it. I am very thankful that I've had people in my life look out for me. I've had mentors. One of the reasons I think that there's a lack of women pursuing aviation professions, and I've thought long and hard about this because I'm involved in the community with regards to Women in Aviation International and the 99s and a bunch of other organizations, is I think there's a lack of exposure. And so there's young girls, there's women that just don't have any role models.
When did you decide that you wanted to join the Coast Guard?
In high school, and I had a Coast Guard auxiliarist as a math teacher.
Even after flight school and like when you realized that you have to do this because you're a student, that what kept you going even after?
The people. It's the military is very much a family, and I have 2 brothers, but I felt like the military made me feel like I had a million brothers and sisters, and I like the mission statement of going out with a team and doing something and coming back and wow, we accomplished something. And you have to rely on your teammates to, I don't know if you play sports but any type of team building thing, you realize that everyone has a job and you have to depend on each other. They just don't think that it's an option for them because they don't see anyone in their life doing it. So I think the more we can interact on a community level and talk about what our job looks like and what our daily experiences are and the people we get to work with, people will start asking questions and start picturing themselves in those roles and be inspired. It's okay to be different. I've always felt like I've had like a learning disability. If I was talking to my younger self or anyone else who is maybe struggling with that same anxiety, it's like everyone learns differently and that makes you who you are. You're going to learn perseverance and you are going to be someone that later can help other people accomplish their goals. So it's okay to struggle, and in fact, I encourage people to struggle because otherwise you don't really know what you're capable of.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
At GoJet, you never fly solo, because when you join our team, you're joining a family of talented and energized people, all here to support you. From great opening pay and one of the best sign-on bonuses in the industry, to a 2-year flow program to United Airlines, GoJet is the best place to learn, grow, and advance your career as a commercial airline pilot. Take the next step for you and your family by joining ours, and let's go further together.
Women in Aviation International's Aviation for Girls program is dedicated to inspiring girls around the world to pursue their dreams and empowering the next generation of female aviation and aerospace leaders. At our Girls in Aviation Day events, girls ages 8 to 18 can earn the WAI Aviation Fun Patch by participating in a fun-filled day of hands-on activities, either at WAI's annual conference or at hundreds of events across the globe. Fly on a flight simulator or guide a drone through an obstacle course. Learn about Mars or the surface of the moon with giant interactive maps. Tour a static aircraft display and sit in a cockpit to imagine your potential. Talk like an air traffic controller and make aviation jewelry. Learn from female role models who are pilots, engineers, mechanics, technicians, and more. Get connected with hundreds of top companies in the industry and our growing network of more than 160 WAI chapters worldwide. Find or even plan your own Girls in Aviation Day in your hometown. Stay connected year-round by downloading our free Aviation for Girls app, an interactive platform with hundreds of activities to complete on your own, as a group, or in the classroom. Discover the forces of flight through activities and worksheets. Study aviation terms and concepts through flashcards. Download instructions for STEAM experiments, and take virtual tours of aviation museums and facilities. Plus, the app features digital editions of all the Aviation for Girls magazines. Each 36-page issue features lots of fun activities, aviation book recommendations, and insight and advice from experienced female aviators. You will discover the steps to becoming a pilot or tips on flying a drone. Visit the Book Zone on the app, full of girl power titles. You will also find information on events, contests, scholarships, and a WAI chapter near you. There's a whole series of cool videos where you will meet trailblazing female pioneers. If you are 18 years or younger, you can become a junior member of Women in Aviation International for free. Sign up on the app or at WAI.org. You'll get all the benefits of WAI membership, plus special monthly Aviation for Girls educational sessions and each Aviation for Girls magazine. Be inspired to explore the many opportunities for girls in the exciting aviation and aerospace world. Girls can do anything, and Aviation for Girls helps you create your own dream.
We are hosting Girls in Aviation. When I was their age, there was nothing like this around. So I am so pleased and honored, not just from Signature, but from Women in Aviation, that we're able to show these young women what's the potential. Our hope is we want future leaders for aviation companies, future CEOs, future pilots. The sky's the limit, right? We want to show them that there's so many different avenues within the aviation field that, you know, if they really work hard, they can really achieve a great career within aviation.
Anybody like sit out here? Yeah, so you can open the door while you're flying. So here we support NORAD and we support the Secret Service. Our job is to intercept low, slow aircraft that are coming into the Washington, D.C. airspace that aren't allowed to be here. We're sort of the first line of defense. We'll go out, we'll pull into a formation next to those aircraft, and then we can use a variety of communications from radio communications, hand signals, and then we even have a LED signboard in the back of the helicopter where we'll send messages to those pilots and those crews. And if they're not allowed to be in the DC airspace, we try to get them turned around to keep everybody out of trouble. So we're here at Girls in Aviation Day. We know that the aviation industry is small, and then the Coast Guard's an even smaller part of that. So what we're hoping to do is give all these girls a first-hand look and let them know that, hey, you can do this. This is a great future. This job's amazing. And we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to see the Coast Guard, see aviation, and then know that, you know, that's something that they can do as well.
So we advocate for the vertical lift community. We have a bunch of scholarships that we offer to help with workforce development. We have several education programs that we even have at Heli Expo every year in March, where there are courses for pilots and mechanics to learn the skills that they need to become successful in their positions in the industry. Young girls need to see themselves in professionals, and there are statistics that say that when children start young with their interest in a certain field, that they're more likely to follow that path into their careers as adults. So we want to get that interest started in the young girls and have them see women that are in different positions, so then they can say, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too. And that's always the spiel that the different volunteers have, because we want to try to feed the pipeline for tomorrow's aviators, but also it's important to see representation and see people look like you doing these type of positions, so that you know that there are multiple jobs out there.
Some students have never been to an airport, have never been on an airplane. So this is an amazing opportunity for girls to come out to see what's in their very own neighborhoods and careers that they can do, whether they attend college or not. So we are very much interested in having our girls learn about programs and learn about careers where they can enhance the skills that they have. Some girls are hands-on learners and some girls are mechanics at home. And so we want them to come out and know that you can do that as a career here at National Airport or in other fields and in other areas.
Welcome aboard American Eagle Flight 5505 with services to Mexico. Aviation is a world that not a lot of children are exposed to. number one. Number two, there's different careers other than being a pilot or a flight attendant like myself that they could be exposed to. And we have it right here with us today. We have maintenance groups, we have recruiting groups, we're all in aviation. So when the children come in, they're seeing it. You know, the first experience is sight. Seatbelts should be fastened at this time, and all luggage should be placed completely under the seat in front of you. The goal is to plant a seed and to bring a diverse group of people that represents them looking back at themselves, you know, and say, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow, I could be this.
The vastness of this aviation industry has to offer in terms of career is highlighted here today, and it's really important to get sponsors and companies, organizations to expand upon what people might traditionally not know about what's a career in aviation. Girls in Aviation Day events like this one is an important way to inspire and really have them think about their future in aviation.
What we're doing is actually showing the young ladies what it's like to work on the line. We're simulating what it's like to marshal in an aircraft.
And make it stop.
The goal for us is to capture them while they're so young, to get it in their heads that, hey, there is a good job for you out there within the aviation field. They will remember this for the rest of their lives, right? And that's what we want to build with them. We want them to continue as they're going through high school, college. We want them to remember this experience. That way they will think about being in the aviation field.
My favorite thing here today was learning about the pilots and learning about the fire truck over there too. It was kind of cool. I might come back here if there's another girl in aviation.
For young girls to get in here and to see the opportunities that they have. They can fly a plane, they could work on the plane. Engineers, they can do so much, and I wish I've had that opportunity, because right now I'd probably be a pilot. You have to squeeze this, the base of the 5, put the base of 5 with the sweeping motion, okay? Let's work that 5, girl, work that 5. Sweep it, baby. Go, girl, you got 2.2. Awesome.
As women, we've always had the talent, we've always had the skill, but the doors weren't always open.
That's true.
For those of us that made it through those doors, especially those of us who were the first to make it through a door, it took a lot to keep the door open.
That's the thing about us. We can do anything that we wanted to.
Anything.
All we need is one opportunity.
As women, we lift each other up, we encourage each other, and we cheer each other on, because this wasn't always easy. And we have a duty to each other, to support each other, encourage each other, and keep those doors open for each other. You understand me? Yeah. You are the true hero.
Well, my favorite thing, getting to see the police officers, because this is my second time seeing them in person. Seeing like police officers in person up close.
So our dogs, what they do is their sense of smell is so heightened that it creates a picture in their minds of what is a threat and what is not.
I want to say thank you so much. You are so welcome, and I am so thrilled that we're able to partner with Girls in Aviation and do this event every year. So I think it's important for us to make sure that all of these future aviators know what opportunities exist for them in the industry.
My favorite part about flying the CRJ550 is the performance. It is a rocket ship.
It's a lot of fun. It's a very sleek aircraft, and it has a lot of excess power.
It is United's luxury jet. They took a CRJ 700 platform and they took several seats out, leaving 50, and added several bag cabinets as well as a refreshment center in the forward cabin. So we are providing United's premium product.
It's just an amazing feeling to take off with that much power. And on top of that, we're the only CRJ that you don't have to valet your bag. And so that's also a great plus for the passengers as well.
My favorite part of flying the CRJ 550 is definitely the customers. They love it. They love the monuments in the middle. Everyone's really happy with the self-serve food and area bar. Just seeing customers very happy once they get off the plane is definitely a very rewarding feeling.
Mary Miller, thank you for being here in the WA on-air studio today with us. Mary is a longtime friend and colleague as the VP of Industry and Government Affairs for Signature Aviation. We're really pleased to have you here today.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. It's just a privilege and an honor to be here today, and excited to just spend time talking to you about 44 years in aviation.
Nearly a walk in the park, 4 decades, right?
4 decades, yeah.
When you say that out loud, like 44 years, that's a long time working.
It is a long time working, and working, it's unusual, to work for the same company for that many years, but with the various buyouts that we had, it felt like I was working for 5 different companies.
Yeah, that's an interesting
throughout
point.
that
It kept
time.
it fresh, didn't
That's
it?
right.
I mean, in terms
That's right.
of, you were probably doing
Yeah.
maybe the same job, or was it always?
It was not always the same
Okay.
job. Yeah, my first promotion was director of customer service. So that was looking at all the customer service practices inside the organization. And, you think back on, the late 80s, like what constituted an FBO chain? Well, 14 locations. 14 locations was a chain, and it went to now, in the United States, more than 160. And then, of course, worldwide, we're, over 200. But starting there, you look at all the practices and trying to figure out how to make them standardize.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of the energy that went into that first job. And then, kind of went from there. Then it was customer relations, which was interacting, with all of our customers as well as our practices. And then from customer relations is when I was approached by Michael Sharinga, and he asked me if I would consider the industry and government affairs position here in Washington, D.C. And I said, hey, sure, I'd consider it, but be aware I don't have a government pedigree. I've never worked on the Hill. I've never worked for the government. And so you should be aware of that. And he goes, you may not work for the government or anyone on the Hill, but you know everybody that does. So I said, well, okay, because you grow up with people. And that's what's happened. You grow
Your
up
relationship.
with your relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Took you into that path.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly
Interesting.
right. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see yourself like being a Hill kind of, I don't want to say a lobbyist, but certainly a governmental representation for the company, right? I mean,
That's right. And no, not really. It wasn't anything that was on my radar screen at all. But it's one of the things that, as you go through life, it's so important just to be open-minded. Don't put a block up to change. Look at it as an opportunity. And so that's what I did. Looked at it as an opportunity, and I found people that I knew were super good at what they did. One of them is Win Shaw. Win Shaw was the legendary vice president of government affairs for Gulfstream here in Washington, D.C. And I just said, hey, Win, would you take me around the Hill and kind of show me, the ropes up here and how you do it? And he did. He took me under his wing, and many others, Paul Feldman over at Gamma, Lisa Piccioni when she was at NBAA, Joel Bacon over at AAAE, just a lot of friends in the industry that, we just worked together and made things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You touched on a topic that I think our youth in particular need to hear about, and it's mentoring.
Yes.
And networking.
Yes.
And you've kind of listed some people that had that role in your life, but
yes.
I mean, I think women are maybe afraid to reach out. And I also say that you could have a male and or a female mentor, and that's very important too. So can you talk a little bit about like the importance of mentoring?
Yes, absolutely. It is, I think mentoring is critical. And I have 3 mentors that come to my mind like immediately. And I've already mentioned, I think, all 3 of them. And Winshaw from Gulfstream, and he helped me at the phase of my career where I needed some help with outreach to government and Hill types and so on and so forth. Bill Boyster, he was invaluable and just giving guidance. When Bill asks you a question and you reply, there is nobody that listens better than Bill Boyster. And just his lessons. He has so many lessons in life that at that phase of my career, he was so beneficial in that guidance. And then, of course, Bob Showalter, who my first promotion, and he saw something in me that I didn't see in me. And note that my 3 mentors are all men. Okay, all men. And so I worked my way through. You have to think of the time period as well. There really weren't, like, you could look around and there really weren't a lot of females that you could reach out to. But you establish your own network. And so there was a lot of us the same age that we hung out together. So, you can think of like Cassandra and Shelley and some of the other fun people in the industry that, you'd say, this happened to me. What do you think? And you could find that they have similar experiences as well. So
yeah,
that's hugely important.
I think so too. And you reflect on those times and while where, women in the aviation industry, our percentage are growing incrementally. We're seen in the flight deck more. We're seen in the air traffic control. We're engineers. We're aerospace, astronauts and such. But I think that we also have to pause on the fact that there are maybe some obstacles along the way, but you kind of focused on the fact that you just took those opportunities and went with them. So
that's right.
What's kind of your advice on that kind of topic about how to really use your skills or your techniques to kind of further yourself in your career?
Really, I think jump on what you feel your best assets are. In my case, I am not afraid to talk to a stranger, and that has really, I think, helped me navigate. Washington, D.C. is a different animal than Indiana. And so, just being a bit outgoing, it may be uncomfortable for people to go to a reception or a lunch and network with people. However, it's critical to, really critical in life in general. And just honing in on those skills. And, at some point you, as I was approached to, would you consider coming to work? And it was, a lot of different companies along the way. And so that's how I think, other opportunities, you can work your way through. If you can get through the front door, you can navigate your way around wherever you want to go, really, honestly.
That's good.
So
opening up that door, opening up that door and going for it.
Everything is electronic. So when you apply for a position, everything is going to be through an online portal. However, if you know somebody within that company, if you can reach out to them to say, hey, can you put in a good word for me? What happens is you're doing the company a favor as well. Because if there's 300 people that applied for this job or 200 people, whatever the number is, then your name gets put to the top. You get the face-to-face interview. So you increase your odds significantly by just knowing someone that works at the company. So That's why I always go back to the networking and just building the bridge, the relationship bridge, to the TSA or the FAA, to the Hill, to all the industry associations here in Washington, D.C. You can pick up the phone and, just have a conversation on a challenge or share something fun.
Thanks, Mary. And let's take a moment for a sponsor break, and we'll be back.
Sounds great.
There's never been a better time to be united because we're defining tomorrow every single day. What does that mean for us? It's attracting and championing people who are driven to build what's next. It's celebrating employees who lead from the front, the ones who show up and team up to propel our customers, our communities, and our planet forward. It means collaborating to pave new paths and pulling together as one team. It's a chance to do the right thing and leave things better than we found them, because we're people who care about making an impact. Tomorrow, we'll keep raising the bar for ourselves, for aviation, and we won't stop there. Come join our journey, because tomorrow is up to all of us. Let's define tomorrow together.
Women in Aviation International's Aviation for Girls program is dedicated to inspiring girls around the world to pursue their dreams and empowering the next generation of female aviation and aerospace leaders. Girls can do anything, and Aviation for Girls helps you create your own dream.
Obviously, we talked about the fact that you've had a long career over decades, and in the industry overall, we've seen, fuel increases and 9/11 and terrorist attack. I mean, the list goes on. What maybe, as you reflect on your career, was maybe the hardest challenge you had to overcome, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I think the hardest challenge is the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and that, I remember that day crystal clear. It was the Business Roundtable, which is the Fortune 100 companies coming to Washington, D.C. We had 72 airplanes here on the ground before 9 o'clock in the morning. And I believe the first plane hit the World Trade Center. It was like just shortly after 9 o'clock. And then, the whole Pentagon,
which you're just a stone's throw away from here,
we had,
right?
Here we had to evacuate our building. Everybody had to evacuate off the ramp. F-16s flying low-level pass over the runway. And people walking home in military uniforms because the roadways were closed. And you look at this facility, and it's the general aviation facility, the one general aviation facility that has the tightest security restrictions in the United States. And we were closed for 4 years, didn't reopen until October of 2005. And that was 4 years of tough negotiations with every single governmental agency that exists in order to get DCA back open. So we were determined, and certainly I was determined. Our CEO at the time was determined. Her name was Beth Haskins, the first female CEO of an FBO chain, if you will.
Interesting.
Yeah, and she was determined to get it back open, and we did. So, and then over the course of the next 6 or 7 years, we refined the program and refined it and made it at least mostly palatable to where it is now. There's still some improvements that need to happen, and we're still working on those, but needless to say, that was probably the biggest challenge, without a doubt. Without a doubt, yeah.
So on the flip side of that, what's maybe your favorite accomplishment during your career?
Oh gosh, favorite accomplishment. That's a really super good question. I think that hearing from people that I have been helpful to them. And I was told once that if you help somebody, they will remember you. But if you help their children, they will remember you forever. And so there was a lot of that, going on here in Washington, D.C. And I think that, just hearing from people that just the aviation community, non-aviation community, kids that were interested in aviation, just taking time. And I think the realization that just take time and spend it with people and help them along the way people have helped me along. I think that would be, I don't know that there's any one particular moment of, sweet victory, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's an accumulation, I think, of the 44 years. I remember talking to a pilot who called me and said, "Hey, Mara, I'm retiring after 52 years in the business." And he said, "It feels like 2 weeks." And I kind of chuckled a little bit and I said, "Congratulations." And, just didn't really relate because I wasn't there yet. But, here I am today and just looking back on it and go, wow, I understand what he was saying,
So you
2
feel like
weeks.
it went quick.
It went very quick. And it was just a lot of fun. Just enjoyed myself, enjoyed everything, every aspect about the job. There's some challenging moments that we all go through with initiatives on the Hill and initiatives that, you try to work through, and hopefully everybody, there's a win-win for everybody in it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's interesting. I wanted you to tell a little bit more about just private aviation overall, because it sometimes can be misidentified or misunderstood in the general public, but it's really an integral part of our global economy. So can you just talk about that and the role Signature plays as an FBO?
Yeah, I think of just myself and that I'm not a pilot and I don't fly. And I've dedicated my career basically to helping those on the ground. And so it's amazing when you think of the role that, and I'll answer your question, but I'm going to answer it backwards. So the role an FBO chain or an FBO plays in the community, because you are greeting the CEOs of companies that are considering economic development in the community. And so they may be coming in to consider putting in a store or a building or opening up an office. And it is the way you want to make a positive first impression when they come into the airport. And that is, the role that the FBO community plays in private aviation. Same thing with individual owners. We have a lot of small business or private pilots that they are flying into the community for one reason or another. It could be to visit family. We try and have fun with, kids that are coming in that are going to college and maybe their dad is flying them in or they're celebrating their 21st birthday or whatever. We try to make it a fun experience and connect with them when they come into the community, make them feel that they're part of a family, if you will. Private aviation is really been, I think, maybe misunderstood to a degree. When you're on the receiving end, you can see a company that will load up their airplane full of 8 or 9 executives, fly in from Minneapolis, St. Paul to Washington, D.C., and the 8 or 9 executives scatter to the winds. They visit all the stores that are in the area, having arrived at 9 in the morning, keeping in mind they probably had to be up at 4 or 5 in the morning in order to get to Washington, D.C. by then. But then they all gather in the lobby at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening to fly back home again so they can have dinner with their family and tuck their kids into bed. And I think that's a big part of private aviation that we see that, perhaps many people don't see. We see the Corporate Angel Network, we see their passengers, coming through, and, it could be a little kid that's being treated for cancer. It could be a parent. It could be anybody. We greet those. We greet the veterans, that are coming and going from Veterans Airlift Command and some of the other organizations, the dogs, and paws and all of that. So, there's a lot of give back that the community has, and I think that there is a small percentage of utilizers of private aviation that end up making the headlines, not necessarily in the most positive of fashion. So anyways, but that is not the majority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that giving back is certainly very integral to who private aviation is as an entity. And I know that at Signature, you've been very generous hosting Girls in Aviation Day for Women in Aviation International.
Indeed.
So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, because again, we're inspiring those youth to think about aviation.
And that, to your point, Kelly, It is so much fun. And the employees here have so much fun, as you know, because you see our little golf cart that's an airplane that, we do the marshalling exercise with them. But, to connect with those kids at young ages, fifth grade, sixth grade, and let them see, what aviation is all about. Because, they're in school and, you retro back to our days in school and you're doing your math, you're doing your history, you're doing your English, but you can't really figure out how is that applicable, as you kind of go through life and end up in a career in some fashion, like even somebody that, oh, I want to be an accountant. Well, you can be an accountant for an aviation company or at an airport or for an airline. And so it's kind of a fun thing to be able to show the girls through fun exercises, how airplanes fly, destinations, how to marshal airplanes, all the different exercises that, the Girls' Day provides for the young kids coming here, and, their backpacks and all the swag they have fun with. And it's a great teaching moment.
It really is. And I know for the girls that attend here, 90% of them had never been to an airport, let alone kind of a fixed base operation to understand what that is all about in aviation. So a young girl is thinking about, well, I want to do what Mary's doing, or how do I get involved in working at an FBO? What would your advice be?
Stay connected. Stay connected to those that are in aviation. Think of those of us that you met along the way, at a Girls' Day, and stay in touch. And my degree was business administration, and I did not have an aviation pedigree. I didn't go to Embry-Riddle. I really didn't even know what general aviation was until I migrated to the Butler Aviation side of the house, because I started out in the PR department of a Fortune 500 company doing press releases in the company newsletter when the CEO decided the company needed an airplane, and because he thought it was a PR tool and I'm the lowest man on the totem pole, you're going to work with the pilots and scheduling the airplane. An airplane? The company has an airplane? So that was my introduction to it.
Really had a very close working relationship between General Aviation Manufacturers Association and who you represented, Signature on the Hill.
Right. Absolutely. And we have a board seat at Gamma.
I see.
And Tony is our board member, Tony LaFave. Yeah, he's our CEO.
So would you go up on the Hill and testify with Gamma reps, or was it more kind of lobbying, connecting
efforts? It was more, lobbying on specific issues, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, but, we work closely with Gamma and many other associations, actually, NATA, AAAE, AOPA, NATA, all of them, depending on what the issue was,
Right. That's good.
Usually we're part of the trickle effect. We're not at the pointy end of the spear, but every now and then you end up at the pointy end of the spear.
You have to support
That's right.
those associations
That's right.
that are
That's
at
right.
the pointy end of
That's
the,
right.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah,
That's
it's
interesting.
important to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you look at your retirement plans, what do they include? Travel?
No, oddly enough, you would think it might, but not. Yes, travel, but not immediately. I think the travel is something that we will look forward to doing in 2026. But in 2025, it's just kind of like, let's see what's out there, reconnecting and spending more time with family, spending more time with friends, and, going to places that are nearby that are our favorite places. So, reconnecting with, cooking and gardening and just things like that, staying active with the National Aviation Hall of Fame, and see what else pops up out there. So my good friend Chris Brown is the director of the Air and Space Museum. So, could end up doing something, maybe not. Chris, you hear that?
Exactly.
So
he may bring you in a full-time role or not. But at
That's
least you
right.
volunteer.
Well,
That's
and they
good.
right now are interested in bringing some girls out to our Dulles facility this summer for an educational piece. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, it
That's
is excellent. I knew you'd like that.
Yes, I do. I
Mhm,
do.
mhm.
So kind of as you set your sights now and you reflect on this illustrious 40-plus year career, what's your kind of parting words to the industry?
My parting words to the industry is be curious. Be curious. Think of the dart scene from Ted Lasso. And if you haven't seen it, Google it. Just dart scene from Ted Lasso. Be curious, because we all know 95% of whatever the issue might be, but it's the 5% we don't know that can make or break a business deal, or make or break or win or lose a war. And that would be curious. And curious means ask questions and then listen.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mary Miller, Vice President of Industry and Government Affairs for Signature Aviation. Really happy you stopped by to have this conversation with us as you set out on another new path for your retirement. Thanks for all your years of service.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. And it's just been a pleasure to work with you through all these years as well, because you are the face in my mind of women in aviation and Girls' Day, and look forward to perhaps organizing something in the future with Girls in Aviation Day. So thank you for having me today. I
love that.
I'm
Thank
honored.
you.
The friends that I've made here will last for the rest of my life. And the majority of people here have become family.
I just didn't want to be a number anywhere. I wanted to be a part of that team. Everyone I've flown with so far, from the flight attendants to the captains, they all really care about you. They want to get to know you as on a personal level, not just, oh, you'll fly with them once and that's it. Some of my best friends are at GoJet, so we're definitely a close family.
Even though you don't fly with the same person every day, you see them over and over again in the terminals, in the airports, in the office, wherever you are. Everyone knows you by your first name.
I can't say a bad thing about my coworkers. Management's been great. GoJet is where my family is.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
It's rather pleasant flying alone. You see, there's certainly nobody to quarrel with or to contradict you. Nobody to say yes if you say no. Oh, I think it's good fun flying alone.
Arguably Britain's most famous aviatrix, Amy Johnson was born July 1st, 1903, in Hull, Yorkshire. Following her graduation from Sheffield University in 1923, she moved to London, where her interest in aviation began. It was not long before her hobby gave way to an all-consuming determination to prove women's competence in the field. She qualified as the first British-trained female ground engineer, and was the only woman in the world to do so at the time. In early 1930, she set her sights on a solo flight to Australia to beat Bert Hinkler's record of 16 days. Her initial efforts in raising financial support failed, but eventually her father, an oil magnate, came through with the 600 British pound purchase price of a used de Havilland Gypsy Moth. Amy set off alone from Croydon on May 5, 1930, and landed in Darwin 21 days later, flying over 11,000 miles. She was the first woman to fly solo to Australia and came home to a hero's welcome. The early 1930s saw Amy set off across the world on more flights, many being record-setters. This included 2 solo flights to Cape Town from England, and once in a Puss Moth from England to Japan. She was also joined by her husband, Jim Mollison, on several flights. One nonstop from South Wales to the U.S. in a de Havilland Dragon, then competing in the England to Australia air race. During that race, the two set a new record time, flying nonstop to India in a de Havilland Comet. After World War II broke out, she joined the Air Transport Auxiliary, ferrying aircraft from factory airstrips to Royal Air Force bases. It was on one of those routine ferry flights that Amy crashed into the Thames estuary and was presumed drowned on January 5, 1941, becoming the first person from the Air Transport Auxiliary to be killed in service. Amy not only stretched the boundaries of aviation, her contributions to engineering were renowned, serving as president of the Women's Engineering Society for 2 years before the war. Amy Johnson was an engineer, a pioneer aviatrix, and adventurer. We celebrate her contributions to the world and honor her life of pushing the boundaries.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
I definitely have heroes. My first heroes would be my parents. They've taught me perseverance and discipline. They gave me that foundation I needed as a young woman to then move forward and achieve my dreams later on in life. I was fortunate enough to get accepted to the United States Naval Academy. It was the summer before my senior year at the Academy that I got a ride in an F-18. And that's the first time that I realized I can be a Marine and be a fighter pilot at the same time. This is the best of both worlds, count me in. And so I was selected to go to test pilot school. And it was during that time that I started looking at what are my future options gonna be in the Marine Corps? What do I really wanna do?
NASA says it's accepting applications for new astronauts.
Of the roughly 3,500 applicants NASA is expecting, only about 15 will be selected for training.
And I thought to myself, well, that's crazy. There's no way that I would ever be accepted to become an astronaut. And I went home and I spoke with my husband about it. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, why would you ever pass up such an incredible opportunity? If you never apply, you're never gonna know if you could make it or if you could have made it. That really changed my perspective on life. So I applied to become an astronaut. And I was very fortunate enough to be selected in the class of 2013.
I'm thrilled to be joining the NASA team and looking forward to the next 2 years of training. Thank you.
And we've been training ever since, preparing to support current missions on board the International Space Station. And now we're preparing for the Artemis mission.
Just as the United States was the first nation to reach the moon in the 20th century, so too will we be the first nation to return astronauts to the moon in the 21st century.
Artemis and our mission to the moon is no longer some far-fetched dream or some science fiction idea. This is reality. We are going. What we're going to learn on the moon goes beyond space exploration. It benefits humans on Earth. It gives enthusiasm to our younger generation to go after their dreams and to help be a part of this evolution of our human race.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
The Women Air Force Service pilots, often nicknamed the WASP, were the first women to fly military planes for the United States Army during World War II. The Women Air Force Service pilots during World War II were not formally recognized as part of the Army, and after the war ended, they had gone home and gone back to their families and gone on with their lives. And as time went on, people kind of forgot about the service that they had provided during World War II. So in the 1970s, WASP had to get together and go back to Congress and ask for retroactive military status that was passed by legislation in 1977. While that was going on, my grandmother realized that because they had not been speaking about what they had been doing for 30 years, people had forgotten. And then when the women in the 1970s were going through pilot training, they were having to deal with a lot of the same issues that the Women Air Force Service pilots were dealing with in the 1940s. So it's important to remember what the Women Air Force Service pilots have done already, and it's not just for pilots and people in the military, it's just for women in general. My grandmother was Elaine Danforth Harmon, and she was a WASP during 1944, and she flew the basic planes that all the WASP flew during their training, AT-6s, BT-13s, Stearmans. So my grandmother's primary job during the WASP was to train male pilots on instrument training in the BT-13. She passed away a few years ago, and she wanted to be laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. But when our family applied to have her there, as she requested, the Army denied our request because they said that the law that was passed in 1977 that ultimately granted them veterans benefits did not apply at Arlington. Our family had to launch a campaign to have a new law passed, amending the 1977 law to make sure that the WASP service was recognized as equal to the men that they served with for the purposes of being laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. That law went through Congress and was signed by the President on May 20th, 2016. So now I appreciate her long journey of sharing her story with all these people and why she was doing it. And so now I am carrying that tradition on by having written a book about that whole process of lobbying Congress and some of her personal history and the history of the WASP and their legislative history and how our family ended up in that situation to share with people so they understand that why it's important to keep these historical notes going and sharing. Women in Aviation International organized an event that will become hopefully an annual event that started Memorial Day weekend of 2018, where they asked their members to go out to local cemeteries and seek out the graves of women Air Force service pilots and visit them and get to know the story behind each of these graves. And a lot of them left behind flowers and mementos, and then they shared it on social media to try to bring more awareness to the history of the women Air Force service pilots. Women in Aviation has been working very hard on keeping track of where the WASP are buried across the country and creating an interactive map so you can click on an area and find the WASP that are buried nearby you and what cemetery they are located at. I asked Women in Aviation members and their family members and friends and anyone else they can get to come to find a local cemetery that has some of the women Air Force service pilots this Memorial Day weekend and hashtag Honor the WASP and share it on social media and tell the story of the women that you find at your local cemetery just to keep that history alive and help spread the awareness of the women Air Force service pilots.
Hello and welcome to WAI On Air. And today I'm in the studio with two of our staff members, Sabrina Kerr, who is our communications coordinator, and Olivia Stansel, who is our membership coordinator. And they have an exciting new program to tell us about.
Yes. Hello, WAI members. We're thrilled to introduce you to the latest resource designed to keep you connected and engaged within our vibrant community. Welcome to WAI Together.
That's right. WA Together is our new member discussion app, and it's packed with features to enhance your experience as part of the Women in Aviation family.
With WAI Together, you can easily connect with other WAI members, share your experiences, and build professional relationships. It's all about fostering a supportive and collaborative environment.
Let's take a look at some of the amazing features. First up, you can get the latest updates and news from your WAI peers in the Community Pulse newsfeed. You can post about your personal and professional achievements, chapter events, and everyday happenings. The newsfeed is filled with posts from your WAI members. It's your daily news.
You can join discussion forums to engage in meaningful conversations with other WAI members. Whether you're looking to share insights, ask questions, or discuss industry trends, the forums are the perfect place to connect.
That's not all. The networking tab is where you can connect with other WAI members, browse their profiles, find members with similar interests, and expand your professional network. Plus, you can send one-on-one messages to connect directly with your WAI family. It will be easier to make relationships and collaborate with your WAI family.
So, Olivia, you're in the membership department, and why is WAI Together so important to kind of connect our members?
WAI Together is really important because the number one feedback that we've gotten from our members is that they want to connect. They joined WAI to connect with other like-minded professionals in the aviation industry. And this is the perfect way for them to not only do that at conference, but also take it beyond and do it throughout the year and globally. So you can be in the US talking to someone in India. And so having those connections that aren't just in your local area by your chapter, but also expanding it beyond your own personal borders.
And Sabrina, do you have to be a WAI member to access the platform?
Absolutely. So, yes, you have to be a WAI member to access WAI Together and use all the benefits.
Olivia, how about chapters? Are the chapters using this as a place for each other to communicate?
Yes, yes. The chapters are very excited about this app and finding a place where they can bring some unity amongst their members to have a one place that they can post about their events and communicate with each other and also even reach out to other chapters for support. And I think that's something that's really interesting and really cool to be able to find that support amongst chapter leaders and chapter members on how to engage their local community and share events and ideas and things like that.
Sabrina, I'm a new WI Together member, and I want to understand, how do I create my profile?
Yes, absolutely. So you can log in through our QR code, and when you go in, you will see the tab named Profile. Go in there and edit your profile. Make sure you have your picture there, your bio, if you're a pilot, whatever your position is. If you fly for an airlines, make sure you put there whatever chapter you are from, and you will see there the list of users. You can go in and find your network. You can connect with all the other members. When you scroll down, you will see leadership board. So you can see how many people are actively there in the app, and make sure you have all your badges done. There are different badges like legendary networker if you are networking with everyone, and you will see there is one badge which is for one-on-one meetings. So you can also book one-on-one meetings with your WI members through WI Together.
So, what are you waiting for? Download WAI Together today and start exploring all the ways you can connect, engage, and grow within our incredible community.
Thank you for being a part of Women in Aviation International, and we cannot wait to see you on WI Together. See you there.
See you there.
I am so inspired by this. I mean, first off, the attendance is astronomical. It's just amazing. But being in the industry over 40 years, 35-year anniversary with GoJet and Trans-States Holdings just 2 days ago, celebrating here in Long Beach with the Women in Aviation Conference. But I'll tell you, it's inspiring. It makes me excited about the future. I mean, I'm sort of at the twilight of my career, a few more years left in me, but to see the excitement and the people engaged and so anxious, not just about being women pilots in aviation, which we need and want, and we've got some amazing ones that are even leaders in our company, but folks that want to get into tech operations and dispatching. It's just an inspiring conference. I can't believe this is my first time here, and I'll tell you, it's on my calendar for years to come. So I'm already excited about Orlando next year. I'm already hearing about it. I'm already hearing about it. But no, it's amazing. We need to, in our industry, to continue to open our doors more widely. Forever, this has been, let's be honest, a bit of a male-dominated industry. But we're seeing more and more women and strong and powerful and leaders of women coming into our industry in various roles, including the cockpit. And we need to make sure we continue to open that up and continue to open that up into other groups that are not as well represented. So I think it's an opportunity that way too long we have not been putting the effort in we knew. But when I see this representation and this excitement at a conference like this, as a CEO, when you've been doing this for over 4 decades, you need to be inspired and you want to remember what it was like when it was new, when you were new in the business and the excitement of being an aviator. And I'm experiencing that today here. It's very exciting.
That's fantastic. Now, tell me a little bit about the positions you're hiring for at GoJet, because you did say it's not just pilots, correct?
Well, clearly everything's about pilots right now. It's holding us all up for achieving the capacity levels we want to achieve. But obviously we need great technicians, we need great dispatchers, we need great flight attendants, we need folks in the other technical planning areas, the administrative areas of accounting and HR and things like that that help support this industry. We are an industry that's complex and our companies are complex. They're not little mom and pops. They really are complex. So we need all talents and all skill sets. But right now we need those folks with those technical skills. We need those folks wanting to aspire to be pilots. There's never been a better time to be aspiring to be a pilot than today. I mean, let's face it, it's pretty amazing what has happened with the opportunities within the pilot sector. And the same thing is starting to happen in a big way within the tech ops side as well, and the dispatch side, because those positions are they're hard to fill. You need some really high quality candidates. We're very blessed that we have people that stay with us before sometimes they move on, especially the pilots, to their forever job at some of the majors. Some have retired with us. So we've been very fortunate and blessed, but can't always count about that. We're an industry that's changing all the time. You know, when we get new people that come into our companies, they challenge us to be better. They make us better by the way that they view the world and the industry. A lot different than I did when I started back in 1980. A lot has changed since then.
Yeah.
But I met my wife here in Long Beach, by the way. I was having a reminiscing moment about that when I flew into Long Beach Airport. But anyway, it's, let me tell you, we're hiring. All positions tend to be available, let me tell you, but really the technical positions are really what we're mainly focused on is obviously pilots and obviously technical operations.
Well, while it is your first time here, Rick, at Women in Aviation,
Not be my last.
thank you very much. But GoJet's been a long time corporate member of WI. We really appreciate your support, and come by GoJet and find out about all their job opportunities. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks so much. Pleasure to see you.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
At GoJet, you never fly solo, because when you join our team, you're joining a family of talented and energized people, all here to support you. From great opening pay and one of the best sign-on bonuses in the industry, to a 2-year flow program to United Airlines, GoJet is the best place to learn, grow, and advance your career as a commercial airline pilot. Take the next step for you and your family by joining ours, and let's go further together.
When I was a kid, I thought they were the weirdest things ever. It was amazing to me how they could just defy gravity like that. I used to be one of those people who thought, I will never do that. That is for the all-stars out there. And then here I am doing it. It's a surreal feeling. I am a lieutenant junior grade, and I'm currently a student naval aviator. So pretty soon, I'll just be an aviator. For me, I knew from the get-go I wanted helicopters. That's what I wanted. That's why I joined the Navy, was to be a helicopter pilot. Helicopters is where it's at. It's just, once you get in there and you start flying, you realize that this is what you're meant to do. I was hooked. I loved it. Hovering was the coolest thing ever. You are defying gravity. You're constantly moving your hands, your feet, you're looking at your gauges, and it's so dynamic. When you get your gear on and you're walking out to the aircraft, you have to do a little bit of level of compartmentalization. You can't let any outside influences affect your flying. So for me, when I get into my gear and I get strapped in, I'm just thinking about what I need to get done for the flight. You need to be the best at what you do. You need to be on top of your knowledge. You need to know what you're doing. You have to be the best. That's why we've been selected, is that they want those people who are dedicated and are hardworking and who are going to come ready and prepared to do the best that they can. Because if you're not willing to give your all, why are you here? You have to do your best.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
What I really look for in an airline is quality of life and career progression. And GoJet was able to fulfill both of those needs.
They allow you to take yourself to wherever you want to go. If you want to go into the union, into management, into training, the opportunity is here.
They take the time to teach you. If you have a question, especially going through training, they were more than happy to help you.
I want to give a shout out to the maintenance department. As a captain, I feel like that's extremely important to be able to trust my equipment, and I feel like they are on top of it all the time.
To be honest, I would not want to work at any other regional airline.
Women in Aviation International's Aviation for Girls program is dedicated to inspiring girls around the world to pursue their dreams and empowering the next generation of female aviation and aerospace leaders. At our Girls in Aviation Day events, girls ages 8 to 18 can earn the WAI Aviation Fun Patch by participating in a fun-filled day of hands-on activities, either at WAI's annual conference or at hundreds of events across the globe. Fly on a flight simulator or guide a drone through an obstacle course. Learn about Mars or the surface of the moon with giant interactive maps. Tour a static aircraft display and sit in a cockpit to imagine your potential. Talk like an air traffic controller and make aviation jewelry. Learn from female role models who are pilots, engineers, mechanics, technicians, and more. Get connected with hundreds of top companies in the industry and our growing network of more than 160 WAI chapters worldwide. Find or even plan your own Girls in Aviation Day in your hometown. Stay connected year-round by downloading our free Aviation for Girls app, an interactive platform with hundreds of activities to complete on your own, as a group, or in the classroom. Discover the forces of flight through activities and worksheets. Study aviation terms and concepts through flashcards. Download instructions for STEAM experiments and take virtual tours of aviation museums and facilities. Plus, the app features digital editions of all the Aviation for Girls magazines. Each 36-page issue features lots of fun activities, aviation book recommendations, and insight and advice from experienced female aviators. You will discover the steps to becoming a pilot or tips on flying a drone. Visit the Book Zone on the app, full of girl power titles. You will also find information on events, contests, scholarships, and a WAI chapter near you. There's a whole series of cool videos where you will meet trailblazing female pioneers. If you are 18 years or younger, you can become a junior member of Women in Aviation International for free. Sign up on the app or at WAI.org. You'll get all the benefits of WAI membership, plus special monthly Aviation for Girls educational sessions and each Aviation for Girls magazine. Be inspired to explore the many opportunities for girls in the exciting aviation and aerospace world. Girls can do anything, and Aviation for Girls helps you create your own dream.
Hi, I'm June, here at Girls in Aviation Day in College Park. Let's go! I'm here with my friend Kelly. I've known Kelly for my whole life. Kelly is an aviation journalist, which is something I might want to be. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for all you do for Girls in Aviation.
Well, thank you for being here, June, at College Park Girls in Aviation Day. And I wanted to show you what each of our attendees gets in their activity kit. Come over here and I'll show you. So in each Girls in Aviation Day activity kit, the girls get our career brochure, which is called The Sky is Unlimited, because there are so many career possibilities in aviation and aerospace, and we want girls to know whatever they want to be, they can do it in aviation. And just like you said, you might want to be an aviation journalist, right? So this brochure is in there. It's also available in our Aviation for Girls app. We have a really cool bandana that I see you're wearing around your neck, which commemorates our 10th Girls in Aviation Day event around the world. We also have Aviation for Girls magazine, where we have stories and we have hands-on activities, and it's all about see her, be her, right? Because if you can see other girls doing things in aviation and aerospace, that's inspiration for you. We also have a temporary glitter Girls Can Do Anything tattoo, a mandala sticker that's commemorative of Aviation for Girls, and this sectional chart activity, so girls can learn all about how to read maps in aviation when you're flying. So that's part of our kit. Yeah.
What has been your favorite part of being an aviation journalist?
That's a great question, June. And you know what? I love sharing the stories about women of all ages and backgrounds that are doing phenomenal things, trailblazing efforts in aviation and aerospace, whether they're astronauts or journalists or marketers or heads of companies. That's what I love about it.
What message do you have to girls who might want to have a career in aviation?
It's a really good question, June. So I think it's really important for girls and parents and teachers to know that whatever your interest is in anything, whether it's interior design or whether it's writing or engineering, you can do that in aviation and aerospace. It's full of emerging technologies and careers for your future, and whatever your interest is, you can do it in aviation and aerospace. And guess what? It's a really cool industry.
This is one of almost 200 events around the world. We've reached over 30 countries and 33,000 attendees. And Girls in Aviation Day is really important because we want to inspire the next generation to reach for their dreams, reach for their career goals, spark interest in careers and opportunities that they may not have experienced before.
I made this pink rocket with my own hands by using crayons and scissors.
And what color straw do you want?
I'm going to use a red straw.
A red straw, great. All right, so we want to add glue all over that rocket. So do you want to go ahead and put that at the top of the straw? And we really want to block this hole. And we put that in. And then this end is for you. You're going to blow through that and it's going to fly. Last year, we had a girl who came to Girls in Aviation Day here at College Park Aviation Museum, and she was so inspired that she went for a discovery flight, and she soloed this month. And she said she might come today, but she was going to be flying this morning. So it really shows that Girls in Aviation Day can change lives and change experiences and spark new dreams.
Hi, I'm June with Girls in Aviation News Connect. I'm here with Alex. Alex is a pilot. What is your favorite part of being a pilot?
There's probably two of my favorite parts. One would be traveling. I like to get to see the world and traveling to different countries and different places that I hadn't seen before. And then the other part, the office views. It's a really cool office, being up at 36,000 feet in the air, getting to see the world from a different perspective.
What do you think needs to happen to bring more women to the flight deck?
Well, I think that the opportunities for women haven't existed as long as it did for the men in the industry. And so now that those opportunities do exist, we have to continue to promote them so that girls at a younger age recognize that it's something that they have as an option for their future. And so the more we can promote that and the more girls that we can expose to this potential career path, the better I think we'll be.
I'm here with Rebecca with the U.S. Coast Guard.
Hi, June. Thank you for having me today.
For the girls watching, can you tell us about your career?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I went to the Coast Guard Academy in 2008, graduated in 2012. I got picked up to go direct to flight school down in Pensacola, Florida, and I flew the T6 there, and then I went to Corpus Christi, flew the King Air, and then I got stationed in Miami and flew the CASA, which is a 144 Alpha. Flew there for 4 years, and then I went aeronautical engineering, and then went to Air Station Washington in DC. Flew a Gulfstream aircraft, we call it a long-range command and control aircraft, a LRCA. Was there for 4 years, and then I went to grad school. The Coast Guard paid for the whole thing at Johns Hopkins University up in Baltimore for engineering management, and now I'm at Coast Guard headquarters and I am managing the Jayhawk MH-60 Tango, and so that's been fun managing a helicopter.
Thank you so much for this great conversation. You've had an amazing career so far. It's very inspiring.
Thank you, June. I wish you the very best in everything that you're doing.
Terry, tell us about your career so far.
So I'm an Air Force pilot. I fly C-17s, which is a big cargo jet for the Air Force. I've flown for about 8 years, and now I'm working at the Pentagon on staff. And I've got 2 young kids, and when I had my babies, I knew I wanted to tell them about my job in a way that they could understand, and that's how I started writing my books.
I might want to be an author. Can you tell us about your books?
Yeah, so I have 3 different books out right now. They're all part of the same series, which is called Operation Aviation. So they're kind of like Disney's Cars meets an Air Force Top Gun. So they're Air Force planes that kind of have like a day in the life and they play with their friends. So it shows what each different airplane does and how they interact with each other. So the first one is about an F-22 fighter jet. The second one is about a KC-135 tanker. And the third one, Moose on a Mission, is about the C-17, which is the plane that I fly. So that one is my personal favorite. Yeah, and I just started writing them again because I wanted to tell my kids kind of what I do as a job, and I needed a way to make it approachable and fun.
You said that's your favorite book. Tell us a little bit about it.
So there's lots of really cool things that the C-17 can do, lots of interesting places it can go, different cargo it can carry. This book is really cool. My illustrator did a great job of kind of showing she can go to the desert, she can go to the Arctic, she can go to these random places in the middle of the Caribbean. And I also really like that it shows what the mission is. So she flies this helicopter somewhere, and that's a search and rescue helicopter. So we do a lot of that in real life. If there's ever a hurricane or like a tsunami or something that needs some help, we can take pretty much anyone and anything there to help out.
I'm here with Joey from Piedmont Airlines. Can you tell us what you do at Piedmont?
Hey, yes, so I am a flight attendant recruiter. So I screen applications, I do interviews, all for flight attendants.
Why are regional airlines like yours so important?
Regional airlines like Piedmont are important because we service a lot of the smaller cities that the larger main lines can't go to because of the smaller airport sizes. Their gates are pretty small and the larger aircraft can't get into them. So with the smaller planes especially, it's a lot easier for the regionals to connect the smaller markets to the larger markets and keep everyone going on their way, whether it's vacation, going to Disney World, anywhere that you want to go, you can get there with a regional airline.
What does Girls in Aviation Day mean to you?
Girls in Aviation Day means to me that we are empowering young women, empowering the new generation of young aviators, and showing both boys and girls that women do belong in aviation and there is a spot for all of us.
Do you have any advice for girls my age who are interested in aviation?
Yes, I do. Definitely keep that drive, keep yourself going. Make sure that you don't give up on whatever you want to do, even if you get into it and it's not necessarily your first choice. There's always room for growth and you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Have you ever heard of the phrase, you have to see it to be it? Well, there aren't very many girls and women in aviation, and that's a big problem because we're stronger when we have people from all backgrounds in our industry. So it's really important for me to participate in something like this because it's a way to show girls that there's room for them in aviation careers, and that's really, really important.
What does it mean for you?
Well, what it means for me is just opportunity for girls that they can be anything that they want to be. Sometimes they think careers, certain jobs aren't for them just because they're a girl, but it's not true. Girls can be anything, we can do anything. We're strong and brave, and we can do anything we set our minds to.
Thanks, RAA. Now we're gonna go visit the helicopters. They're my favorite part.
Thank you, June.
Hi, I'm June with Girls in Aviation News Connect. What's your name?
My name's Jeff Bird. I'm with EIT Avionics.
For the girls watching, can you tell us something about your aircraft?
Well, we've got a Robinson R66 helicopter. It's a 5-seat helicopter. They're made right here in the United States. It's made in California.
Can you tell us what some of the things in the cockpit do?
Absolutely. Let me show you the first one. So this one's our most important gauge. That's the rotor RPM. And normally we run at 100%. When we keep it in that green arc, it's got a little more width to it there. That we can operate actually engine off. So that little tiny green band on the left side is where the engine's supposed to be when everything's running normally. That one's a directional gyro. So we have a compass. If you look, it's wiggly. So all that gyro does is stabilize our compass information. So it helps us to see which heading we're flying without it bouncing around, say on a bumpy day or something. Engine torque is how much power we're pulling out of the engine. So when we take off, we're actually generally at a very high power setting. And when we cruise, it's down around 60% or 65%. So a helicopter is actually working the hardest right when it leaves the ground. And when we're cruising in forward flight, it's generally a lower power setting. So that's kind of backwards from airplanes in some ways. And if we want to go forward, we push forward. So push real hard. There you go. That would be like this. And if we want to go backwards, you pull back. Yeah. Airspeed indicator. So this helicopter is actually pretty fast. We go about 110 knots. So that's about 120 miles an hour.
Do you have any advice for young people who are interested in aviation?
So first thing is getting young people excited about aviation and being able to see an actual helicopter or an actual airplane and talk to people. That's the most important thing to do. You got to talk to people. Go be a pest. Everybody here would love to talk to you about their flying experience. And we need young people interested because right now there's a shortage. We actually don't have enough people in aviation. So pilots, mechanics, air traffic control, people who manage whole fleets of airplanes. There's a lot of places in the industry. And the best thing to do is exactly what you're doing. Is come on out here and ask questions at your local airport or someone you know. Keep asking. So I'm super happy you're out here today.
Thank you to today's Girls in Aviation Day sponsors.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
The U.S. Army's first women rotary wing aviators is a group of 9 female helicopter pilots who represent the first women in rotary wing aviation to serve in the U.S. Army. These 4 lieutenants and 5 warrant officers proved women had a place in military aviation and blazed the trail forward for future generations of Army women. They include Lieutenant Sally Murphy, Linda Haran Dumoulin, Susan Dunwoody-Sheck, Beverly Burkholtz, and warrant officers Jenny Valance, Diane Dowd, Susan Boring, Laverne Fransworth, and Mary Reed. In September 1973, the first Army female entered the Officers Rotary Wing Aviation course at the U.S. Army Aviation Center in Fort Rucker, Alabama, resulting in Lieutenant Sally Murphy receiving her wings on June 4, 1974. The next year, 5 more women entered the Warrant Officer Aviation program at the same location. These women followed the same academic flight and physical training programs as the men. During the 1970s, these women displayed the pioneering spirit, persistence, and courage to earn their place in U.S. Army aviation. Their tenacity and determination to overcome obstacles helped immeasurably in gaining successful acceptance and integration of women into U.S. Army aviation. These 9 women sacrificed potential success of proven career paths in other specialties to accept the risk of a new and extremely challenging road filled with countless obstacles. None of these women had the benefit of being assigned with other female aviators, providing support, encouragement, or advice.
Well, GoJet prioritizes safety in our operations by starting with the greatest material out there. We have a lot of great options to us through Aviate. We partner with United, so we have a lot of our partners, Aviate candidates, are coming to our company. We have a wonderful training program. We have advancement in the AQP, which is Advanced Qualification Program. We've made great strides in that area. That's an informed way of training our pilots. So we get to track in more detail what is being missed or what's needs a little help. And that informs our training each time a pilot comes back to training. We have an excellent maintenance program. And we did an amazing job changing all of our 700 aircraft into the 550. So I've always feel very secure in our GoJet aircraft. We never have outstanding maintenance items. If we have an orange sticker in our book, it's never there for long. I'm always resting assured that we have great maintenance to back us up. We also have excellent flight attendants. They're rigorously trained. They are very customer service oriented. So we are a great partner with United in that sense, that we're very customer service oriented. I was drawn to GoJet Airlines because of the people. So I was at a point in my life, I was looking to rejoin the aviation workforce, and I went to a job fair and I met some awesome recruiters for GoJet. One of them is a former wingman of ours who is now a first officer at United. Super sharp, super friendly people, very personable. So when I talked to them, I felt like that was the path I definitely wanted to be on. Great group of people, and it has not failed to disappoint. Here at GoJet, I feel like we have a real community of helping each other out, an open door type policy, and that's from the top down, upper management, down to the pilots, to the maintenance, to the flight attendants. Everybody is open to teaching and learning from each other. And it's just a wonderful culture here at GoJet. So that was what attracted me in the first place, and that's what keeps me here. It's awesome.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
So my name is Taylor Dean. I'm Assistant Chief Pilot at the Carson, California Airship Base. I'm going to take you through a virtual tour of our Goodyear airship. Goodyear has 3 airships in its fleet. We have one here in Carson, California, one in Pompano Beach, Florida, and one in Akron, Ohio. And recently, this year, 2020, we actually started operating an airship in Europe. Goodyear's been flying airships for over 100 years. And we've recently updated our fleet starting in 2014 with the christening of Wingfoot 1, followed up shortly by Wingfoot 2 and Wingfoot 3 to complete the new airship fleet for Goodyear in 2018. The Goodyear blimp is 246 feet long. That's 3/4 the length of a football field. The envelope, which is the area, the balloon portion of the airship that houses our branding, is made up of a polyurethane, polyester, and Tedlar material, and it houses 298,000 cubic feet of helium. The structure of the airship includes an A-frame, which runs the length of the airship and allows connection points for both your engine units and your tail fins. This area is only accessible by maintenance personnel during hangar portions where we take the helium out of the envelope and under specific safety protocols. Pilots and on game days, broadcast technicians fly inside the gondola portion of the airship. There are also 10 passenger seats inside the gondola for when Goodyear provides customer recognition events, as well as windows 360 degrees all the way around the airship that provide unparalleled views. When we're over TV events at 1,500 feet, we have the best seat in the house. Inside the cockpit, you have 2 pilots flying. One person's actively moving the side stick and controlling the airship while the other one's doing navigation and communication. The airship is complete with a fly-by-wire system. The side stick, which is both on the pilot side and the co-pilot side, allows the pilot to control the airship aerodynamically. The flight control unit senses the input from the pilot and moves the fins based on the input it receives. The thrust vector control system is a way the pilot controls their engine parameters and their propellers. It has 4 different levers included with it. You have your swivel lever, your RPM lever, your mixture, and your propeller pitch. The G500 is equipped on the lower portion of the pilot's dash. We use that for our digital instrumentation readout, as well as navigating from one place to another. It also has traffic collision avoidance associated and obstacle avoidance. Thanks for joining me for a behind-the-scenes look at the Goodyear airship. I'm Taylor Dean, signing off and wishing you blue skies on your journey.
My name is Carrie Pia. I'm a major in the United States Air Force. I've been a C-17 pilot for about 10 years now. Being here in Amelia Earhart's hangar feels inspirational and awe-inspiring. She was a trailblazer for women in her time.
I'm Captain Emily Barkmeyer. I'm a C-17 instructor pilot. I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to be here and to walk in the same, literally in the same hangar that she was in, that she fixed her plane in, that she took off from, and she landed here, and it's a very cool feeling. She was one of the very first to do the things that she did, and she was attempting to fly around the world, and a feat back then that was unheard of, and something that I can do any day of the week now because of the advances in technology and the advances of the human mind to realize that we are capable of so much more.
Amelia Earhart was a legacy in her own day, and I feel like that legacy has been carried on for generations, and it takes a lot of support from your team. We've come a far way, and just to be an inspiration to our sons and daughters and to show them that this is normal, this makes me proud.
I just can only hope that, you know, when my sons are my age, that they know that of course a female can be a pilot. Of course she can fly around the world. It's not a question of how or if they're capable, it's just a question of when they want to.
I feel proud to be an inspiration to both of my daughters and show them that they can do whatever they want as long as they put the hard work in and they keep their minds determined.
When you're airdropping, you find a point in space that you want to drop people or cargo off at, and you fly that point of space and make it happen. As far as cargo goes, we can carry up to 180,000 pounds. If it fits in the jet, then we can probably take it. I'm Captain Susan Finch, and I'm a pilot in the Air Force. Being a C-17 pilot is extremely rewarding. being able to be that dependable source for people, whether it's getting people who are in need of humanitarian aid or dropping off stuff for the troops that are downrange. So my path is not exactly the most stereotypical one. When I was in high school, I was aware of the Air Force Academy because my dad went there, but I didn't really think anything of it. They have a bunch of different programs. They have a glider program. They also have a jump program where you're actually jumping out of planes. That's your extracurricular activity. Once I made that decision to go into the Air Force Academy, I feel like that decision kind of kicked off my ability to become a pilot. Pilot training is challenging. It's broken into different parts. You have your academics part, and then your initial trainer, which is T6s, and then after that it branches off. So you can choose T38s, which is a fighter track, T1s, which is a heavy track, or go to helicopters. So I chose T1s, which is the heavy airlift track. I like it because it's a crew aircraft. Operating the C-17 at a minimum is 2 pilots and a loadmaster. So I enjoy working with people. I like bringing a team together and being able to work with everyone to get a mission done, and that's exactly what the C-17 is. And we can take her pretty much anywhere around the world. Been to multiple countries, multiple continents. She's also capable of doing aerial refueling, so that really expands our range. We'll fly up right behind them, and literally they are touching. They'll have a boom come down and give us fuel in our receptacle, and we'll receive gas that way. Sometimes when I'm going down the runway and we're getting ready to take off, I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. This is my job.
Getting into aviation, there's tons of opportunities, lots of education, and the experiences and the places that you'll go and the people that you meet are worth it. It's a really great path, it's a great career. I would highly recommend going into aviation.
Born in Harlingen, Texas, and raised in San Diego, Captain Rosemary Bryant Mariner earned her private pilot certificate on her 17th birthday and was the first woman admitted to the Purdue University Professional Pilot Program. After graduation, she was selected in the first group of 8 women to train as naval aviators in 1973. Rosemary received her Navy Wings of Gold in June 1974 and became the first military woman to qualify in a tactical jet aircraft, the A-4 Skyhawk, in 1975. The following year, she broke another barrier, becoming the first female naval aviator to fly the A-7E Corsair II. Rosemary continued to add many firsts to her accomplishments, including the first Navy woman to fly the vintage F-86, the first woman aviator to qualify as a surface warfare officer, and the first military woman to command an operational aviation squadron. She attended the National War College in Washington, D.C., earning a master's in national security strategy, and served on the staff of the Joint Chiefs in the Pentagon. In 1991, she helped lead the fight on Capitol Hill to eliminate the combat exclusion rule from federal law. This opened up the opportunity for military women aviators to fly in combat. She flew over 3,500 flight hours and 17 carrier landings. Rosemary was awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal among many other awards in her naval career before retiring in 1997. Captain Mariner passed away at age 65 on January 24, 2019, in her 5th year of her battle with ovarian cancer, with her husband and wingman of 40 years by her side. Throughout her career, Rosemary was a voracious reader and an eager academic who devoted herself to a love of knowledge. Rosemary was honored by the Navy with a 4 FA-18F aircraft flyover at her funeral in East Tennessee. We honor Captain Rosemary Bryant Mariner, dedicated naval aviator, mentor, and trailblazer into the Women in Aviation International Pioneer Hall of Fame.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
My initial draw to GoJet Airlines was my involvement in the Aviate program. I was involved with Aviate prior to coming to GoJet, and GoJet was my top choice of the 3 involved regionals. I would say I felt very supported as far as the application process, making it through the application process and getting all the way to training. I was very well prepared and given materials to study before I even got to training on day 1. So it was very helpful coming from everybody on the recruiting team. GoJet is a great option for aspiring pilots because of our connection through United Airlines. We're not only contracted with United Airlines for the next 10 years, but we have a wonderful flow of programs at United Airlines.
When I was a little girl, I wanted to be an astronaut,
a scientist,
a doctor, a fighter pilot.
When I was a little girl, I wanted to grow up to be strong and independent.
When we were asked to draw a picture of what we wanted to be when we grew up, I drew an astronaut standing on the surface of the moon.
All I thought about was when I was going to get to NASA.
It's a huge honor to be NASA's first female launch director. To be the launch director for Artemis, NASA has so many wonderful women pioneers, so many heroes to me.
Some of the most amazing women in my eyes are people like Katherine Johnson and the other women that you've seen in Hidden Figures.
Sometimes it's difficult to believe that I'm on this side now, wearing this blue flight suit with all of the other astronauts, representing this iconic image that had so inspired and excited me my entire life.
Being of South Asian heritage, Kalpana Chawla was just such a big thing for me growing up.
I've always looked up to Sally Ride and Mae Jemison, who really laid the foundation to allow people like me to be in the position that I am now.
All of these women were pushing those boundaries and breaking those glass ceilings.
Now, of course, there are some fantastic women in leadership positions that inspire me every day.
So much has changed since the Apollo program. During the Apollo 11 launch, we had one woman, one out of 400 engineers in the room. And I look at our team today, it's much more a reflection of the world that we live in.
A big piece of why it's so important to have women and diverse backgrounds, because it allows us to bring everybody along with us on this journey.
It doesn't really matter what you look like. If you've got the brains and you have the knowledge, we need you at the table.
We are at such an exciting time in human spaceflight right now, and Artemis is such a huge part of that.
We haven't been to the moon in many, many years. We have a lot of younger generation folks that have never seen that happen.
We will understand so much more about the moon, about the Earth, about our solar system.
We're going to stay. And to me, that's an amazing idea. The moon is going to be the blueprint for how we go to Mars and out into the solar system and maybe beyond.
It is incredibly exciting to be part of this Artemis team. It still feels pretty surreal to think that I might one day walk on the moon.
To see a woman and a person of color on the surface of the moon, to be able to say that space is for everyone and that we go to space to make life better here on Earth for everyone. I know that tears will be in my eyes.
My message to women and girls out there is to find your passion, whatever that is.
Don't let anyone tell you what you can do or can't do. Only you can realize your dreams.
Space is for everyone. And if me being in this role helps to send that message, I think that's a great thing.
And I just actually love that I don't feel like a woman at NASA. I just feel like a person at NASA.
The women of NASA are Artemis, and we make a difference every day.
I am NASA's Spacewalk Office Hardware Manager.
I'm the Program Scientist for Space Biology.
I'm the Director of NASA's Johnson Space Center.
I am Artemis.
I am Artemis.
私はアルテミスです。Yo soy Artemis. Us some Artemis. Ana.
Je suis.
Ich bin Artemis.
I am Artemis.
I am Artemis.
At GoJet, you never fly solo, because when you join our team, you're joining a family of talented and energized people, all here to support you. From great opening pay and one of the best sign-on bonuses in the industry, to a 2-year flow program to United Airlines, GoJet is the best place to learn, grow, and advance your career as a commercial airline pilot. Take the next step for you and your family by joining ours, and let's go further together.
Girls in Aviation Day was an awesome event for girls of all ages, and it was a lot of hands-on activities, lots of STEM activities, lots of flight simulators and flying drones. It had a big map of Mars all over the floor, and all the girls really seemed to enjoy it, really were engaged in the activities, and I think it was a really great outreach event. I've had a really great time being out here. I'm honored to have been asked to be the keynote speaker for Girls in Aviation Day. I'm an aeromechanical engineer with AeroVironment in Simi Valley, California, and I am one of the designers of Ingenuity Mars helicopter. Day to day, I do a lot of mechanical work with an aerospace focus, and I love it. I get to do a lot of analytical design. I get to work with my hands and build and prototype things all the time, which is a lot of fun. I work in a very different side of aviation. I don't work on crewed missions, I work on purely robotic systems. And so I don't interact with this side of aviation very often, and it's been a really great experience for me to talk to people I don't normally get to talk to and connect with all different parts of the community. So the best thing you can do to support girls who have these interests is to really encourage them to pursue what they're passionate about. I would have loved to have had an event like that when I was growing up, but I didn't have that exposure, and I'm so grateful that these girls have this experience now. WA has provided a really great opportunity for both women and girls to engage in this community, and especially with the Girls in Aviation Day, there were so many hands-on activities and things that just get girls really excited about what it means to be a part of aviation. And there are so many different aspects of it, and so many aspects that are really fun. The first step is just to get them excited. And I saw so many girls today with big smiles on their faces, just so happy to be there. So my biggest advice for girls who are interested in aviation or aerospace is to just try things. Don't be afraid to try things because you think you might be bad at it or because you think you don't fit in. You learn so much in failure, and I try to live by the philosophy of fail fast and learn faster. So every failure is a learning opportunity, and it's not a bad thing. So don't be afraid to just get out there and try anything. I hope that I can inspire at least a couple of them to pursue aviation, and I'm just honored to have been able to engage with them like that.
Hello and welcome to WAI On Air. And today I'm in the studio with two of our staff members, Sabrina Kerr, who is our communications coordinator, and Olivia Stansel, who is our membership coordinator. And they have an exciting new program to tell us about.
Yes. Hello, WAI members. We're thrilled to introduce you to the latest resource designed to keep you connected and engaged within our vibrant community. Welcome to WAI Together.
That's right. WAI Together is our new member discussion app, and it's packed with features to enhance your experience as part of the Women in Aviation family.
With WAI Together, you can easily connect with other WAI members, share your experiences, and build professional relationships. It's all about fostering a supportive and collaborative environment.
Let's take a look at some of the amazing features. First up, you can get the latest updates and news from your WAI peers in the Community Pulse newsfeed. You can post about your personal and professional achievements, chapter events, and everyday happenings. The newsfeed is filled with posts from your WAI members. It's your daily news.
You can join discussion forums to engage in meaningful conversations with other WAI members. Whether you're looking to share insights, ask questions, or discuss industry trends, the forums are the perfect place to connect.
That's not all. The networking tab is where you can connect with other WAI members, browse their profiles, find members with similar interests, and expand your professional network. Plus, you can send one-on-one messages to connect directly with your WI family. It will be easier to make relationships and collaborate with your WI family.
So, Olivia, you're in the membership department, and why is WAI Together so important to kind of connect our members?
WAI Together is really important because the number one feedback that we've gotten from our members is that they want to connect. They joined WAI to connect with other like-minded professionals in the aviation industry. And this is the perfect way for them to not only do that at conference, but also take it beyond and do it throughout the year and globally. So you can be in the US talking to someone in India. And so having those connections that aren't just in your local area by your chapter, but also expanding it beyond your own personal borders.
And Sabrina, do you have to be a WAI member to access the platform?
Absolutely. So, yes, you have to be a WAI member to access WAI Together and use all the benefits.
Olivia, how about chapters? Are the chapters using this as a place for each other to communicate?
Yes. The chapters are very excited about this app and finding a place where they can bring some unity amongst their members, to have a one place that they can post about their events and communicate with each other, and also even reach out to other chapters for support. And I think that's something that's really interesting and really cool, to be able to find that support amongst chapter leaders and chapter members on how to engage their local community and share events and ideas and things like that.
Sabrina, I'm a new WI Together member, and I want to understand, how do I create my profile?
Yes, absolutely. So you can log in through our QR code, and when you go in, you will see the tab named Profile. Go in there and edit your profile. Make sure you have your picture there, your bio, if you're a pilot, whatever your position is. If you fly foreign airlines, make sure you put there whatever chapter you are from, and you will see there the list of users. You can go in and find your network. You can connect with all the other members. When you scroll down, you will see leadership board. So you can see how many people are actively there in the app, and make sure you have all your badges done. There are different badges like legendary networker if you are networking with everyone, and you will see there is one badge which is for one-on-one meetings. So you can also book one-on-one meetings with your WI members through WI Together.
So, what are you waiting for? Download WAI Together today and start exploring all the ways you can connect, engage, and grow within our incredible community.
Thank you for being a part of Women in Aviation International, and we cannot wait to see you on WI Together. See you there.
See you there.
You are watching On Air, sponsored by GoJet Airlines.
I can fly anywhere in the world. I have flown jets. I have flown all small aircraft. I have taught over 3,000 people to fly and get a private license in my lifetime. And I have over 19,600 flight hours, much more than captains have. Because I've been flying since I was, as an instructor, since I was 16 at Stevens College. I was hired by FAA, and I did a good job for them, and guess who stole me over? Was the National Transportation Safety Board, and became the first girl investigator. And I've done 450 accident investigations in my lifetime. I want to be outside. I want to be with the animals. I want to be on the tractor. I wanted to be fixing cars. I was always in shorts and t-shirts, and I was a cowboy. I did everything the boys did. I didn't like what the girls did. I didn't play with dolls. At 14, I had my .22 rifle. My advisor said, and you shoot into that target and put your one shot in each one of those targets. Every shot was in the middle. Those targets were sent to National Rifle Association here in DC. And then a very nice letter came to me from President Eisenhower congratulating me on being the first girl to ever do that. My first flight was at 7 or 8. I loved it. I wanted to be in that airplane more. I loved the sound, the smell, and getting up there. My most favorite airplane to fly, I was only 20 years old when I was introduced to the Stearman, which had a Continental 220 engine in it, 2 wings on each side, open cockpit. I flew from the front, my students flew from the back, and we don't have headsets, no communications like they have today. And if somebody didn't get it, I would get out of my seat, stand on the wing, turn back, I'm out of the airplane now, and turn back and say, you need a little bit of power when you come in for a landing because you want your tail wheel to touch down the same as your main gear. I took people up from Hawthorne, California, and I would teach them how to do acrobatics because I knew how to do acrobatics by looking at pictures in the books and watching what guys were doing in the military. And I could do exactly what they were doing. When we were all through putting everything away, I get a phone call, and it's the tower. They said, Wally, because I knew the tower people so well, Wally, stay in the airplane. I said, okay.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Well, back in about 62, a friend of mine called and said, Wally, do you want to be an astronaut? I said, yes, of course. He said, okay, get a hold of Dr. Lovelace. So I wrote to him, communicated back, be here in 2 weeks on a Monday, and we'll start your tests. I was at that time a flight instructor for the Army at Fort Sill, and I had to drive home to Taos, New Mexico, which is my hometown. And with my parents, they drove me to Albuquerque so that I could take those tests.
At a Washington news conference, officials introduced 7 carefully chosen military test pilots as America's first spacemen.
These, ladies and gentlemen, are the nation's Mercury astronauts.
There were 100 and some guys selected, but out of that 100 and some men that took those tests, how many passed? 7. So Dr. Lovelace got rather upset the fact that they couldn't do a better job of passing his astronaut tests. He said, let's try the girls. There were 32 girls picked, but how many passed? 13. And I'm the only one around of the Mercury 13. I wrote to them and I said, I want to become a NASA affiliate and I want to go to ISS. And they were so nice and gentle because they said, Wally, we would love to have you, but you don't have an engineering degree in your dossier. I said, yeah, it's true. Well, you need that. But they couldn't hire me because I didn't have the engineering degree. Jeff Bezos, who came to my home and said, I'm going into space. I want to take you with me.
We open the hatch and you step outside. What's the first thing you say?
I will say, honey, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. The day I went up, that's at about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a little overcast. I said, we're going to go when it's overcast? Yes. And then we started up the stairs, going up to the top of the capsule. Then they locked the door.
5, 4, command engine start. 2, 1. Ignition. We have liftoff. Shepard cleared the tower.
And New Shepard has cleared the tower on our way to space with our first
My seat in the bubble that took us into space was so wonderful, I could just go to sleep right there. It felt great. That was such a smooth, easy flight. No bumps.
Oh, fantastic. Look at this. It's dark up here.
When we get up to weightlessness, I got out of my seat and I did all kinds of tumbles and this, but I had done that so many other times at other places, that was very easy for me.
To space. Unbelievable. Is it everything you thought it would be? Here, look. Oliver.
Jeff had everything so perfect on that flight.
Move your head just a little.
Oh, that's great.
Can you move your head a little while it flies?
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Oh, wow. Look at the blackness of space. Unbelievable. Here, catch. Oh, yeah.
And what was interesting is when the parachute's open, normally it's a pretty good sized bag. That was just bang, bang.
Here comes the crew capsule back from space. The drogues deployed. Here are the mains out, reefing and coming to full inflation.
We're starting to land. There's a lot of dust around that, and I saw the dust coming up the one. Now, what's happening here? It said, we're landing.
Welcome back, New Shepard's first human crew.
He had us land with 1 mile an hour, and it was so soft, it was just a bare touch. It was a great feeling. Finally, after 20 years of age, this is happening.
What I really look for in an airline is quality of life and career progression. And GoJet was able to fulfill both of those needs.
They allow you to take yourself to wherever you want to go. If you want to go into the union, into management, into training, the opportunity is here.
They take the time to teach you. If you have a question, especially going through training, they were more than happy to help you.
I want to give a shout out to the maintenance department. As a captain, I feel like that's extremely important to be able to trust my equipment, and I feel like they are on top of it all the time.
To be honest, I would not want to work at any other regional airline.
My name is Maddie Swagel, and I'm the U.S. Navy's first Black female tactical jet pilot. I don't think a goal in my life is to necessarily be the first at anything. That was never something that I set out to do. It was just something that I was interested in, and I found out later. My parents raised me and they told me that I could be whatever I wanted to be. We would go see the Blue Angels when they were in town. I don't remember specifically how old I was, but they were just so cool. I love them. Yeah, I just love the fast planes.
To show up here at this level, you need to be a top performer, and then you have to continue to perform while you're here. These are the best pilots in the world that are trained here, the very best.
Oh, I was super excited, but also really intimidated. I remember driving down here for the first time, and it just seemed really daunting. It was crazy to be in such a higher performance aircraft. I was really excited on takeoff, like feeling the exhilaration and getting thrown back in the seat a little bit. That was awesome. It's fun because it is difficult at the same time. You know, like I know that I had to work to get it to behave, you know, and it took a lot of fighting the aircraft and figuring out how it was going to perform. So yeah, that was exciting. It's really rewarding to have the plane do whatever you want it to do, and that takes time, and you definitely notice yourself improving. Like looking back, it's amazing to think about where I started, and I'd never been in an airplane before, so it's just one step at a time, and it's really cool to think of all the things that I've done now, which I never thought that I'd be able to do.
It takes long hours, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and commitment to excellence, day in and day out. Every instructor here knows that we have a very high standard. The standard doesn't change. That is to be excellent in everything that you do. And she, just like all of her fellow wingies, met that standard of excellence, and they're going to go out and make all of us very proud.
After 3 years, that was a long journey, and there were times when I didn't think that I would make it, so that was kind of scary, but I'm glad that I kept pushing and we're here and I get to continue. I am really honored that I get to wear the wings and get to fly planes and call myself a pilot.
You know, I've been in the Navy almost 20 years and served with people from all races, colors, creeds, genders, and it was surprising to hear that she could be a pioneer. And once it was confirmed, it was like, well, this is really exciting. And this was probably with her only having about 3 flights remaining in the syllabus.
So I think that representation is important because we are a very diverse nation. So I would like everyone to believe that they can achieve whatever they want to do.
This profession is open to anybody with the drive and motivation willing to put in the work and the sacrifice that comes along with it. I hope that it inspires far more women and people of all kinds of diverse backgrounds to look at this as a great career choice. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you came from. Once we have the uniform on, we're all on the same team and we all are trying to accomplish the same mission.
I guess I hope that my legacy will be that there will be a lot of other women and minority women and just different faces that come forward and at least give the pipeline a shot, you know, like be encouraged and know that they have all the tools that they need and, you know, follow their dreams.
There's always going to be a first at some point, and here it is in 2020. She's it, the U.S. Navy's first black female tactical jet aviator. It may be a long time coming, but here she is, and there's going to be more to follow now.
Hi everyone, my name is Julia Harrington. I work as a corporate captain for an insurance company out of Chicago and fly 2 business jets for my job. But for fun, this is my personal airplane and I love flying it for aerobatic and to go on any adventures that I might want to go on. So come, let me show you my airplane. Every day, right when I get to the hangar, I do a general overall look at the airplane to just make sure that everything seems just as I left it and nothing is out of place. I'll then typically start my checkout inside the airplane to make sure everything is exactly where I want it. Once inside the airplane, the first place I typically look is the instrument panel. I make sure all my instruments look in good condition and nothing needs replacing. Another important thing in all flying, but especially aerobatic flying, is to check around the floor of the airplane and make sure that there's nothing hanging out or no loose articles, because when we fly upside down, those things can go flying. Then I always make sure to check my engine oil. I check the quantity and to make sure it's the right color and everything looks good. In this airplane for aerobatics, it's recommended that we have 7 quarts, and it looks like we're right there for today, so that's perfect. While this is open, I also check the condition of all the wires and tubes in here, make sure that everything's in good condition and no birds have made nests in there. Then it's time to inspect the wings. I always give the leading edge a look over and make sure it looks good with no dents. I also check these inspection covers to make sure that they are secure. When you open those up, you can see inside the wing. At the wingtip, I check all of these screws that they are in position and nothing's loose, and I check the wingtip light. Then I come around to the aileron. This is the control surface that lets the aircraft roll left and right. I check that it has freedom of movement and everything is secure. And I also check that it moves opposite the one on the other side. I also check all of the bolts, nuts, and hinges to make sure that everything is just as secure as last time I flew the airplane. After the wingtips, I come around to the tail. I check the rudder attach points and its freedom of movement. I also check the elevator, that it has freedom of movement and all the bolts are secure. Unique to this type of airplane is the tail wheel. Some airplanes have the third wheel at the nose and this one's at the tail. I check the tire inflation and condition. And then I also make sure that all of the attach points and springs are secure and in good condition. This is very important for safety on takeoff and landing. It's a pretty similar inspection on the other side of the airplane. I hope you enjoyed checking out my airplane with me today. Now I'm gonna go flying. If you think my airplane is cool and want to see more videos like this, I actually have my own YouTube channel where I share my flying both in this airplane and for work. It's youtube.com/pilotjulia if you're interested. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great Girls in Aviation Day.
My favorite part about flying the CRJ550 is the performance. It is a rocket ship.
It's a lot of fun. It's a very sleek aircraft, and it has a lot of excess power.
It is United's luxury jet. They took a CRJ 700 platform and they took several seats out, leaving 50, and added several bag cabinets as well as a refreshment center in the forward cabin. So we are providing United's premium product.
It's just an amazing feeling to take off with that much power. And on top of that, we're the only CRJ that you don't have to valet your bag. And so that's also a great plus for the passengers as well.
My favorite part of flying the CRJ550 is definitely the customers. They love it. They love the monuments in the middle. Everyone's really happy with the self-serve food and area bar. Just seeing customers very happy once they get off the plane is definitely a very rewarding feeling.
We're so excited to be here. The girls are already fully engaged, and our portion of this has to do with combining aviation and education. So we are helping to combine aviation and a business degree, which when you graduate, then makes you quite eligible to work for one of the major airlines. We are down in so many pilots. We're going to be needing pilots for the next 40 years, and we don't have them right now. Getting girls into this occupation is a really big opportunity for all of us. So starting as young as they can, which is a little bit what this Girls in Aviation Day is about. So these girls are getting a chance to see that this is an open pathway for them. And it's really important that they have that chance.
Do is just blow right through the center. Then they should go together like that. So let's see if you can do that. Make that happen. What kids think is that it's going to blow them apart, right? But because of Bernoulli's principle, it'll actually, the wind current will hold the cans together. And so they should sort of spin together. There you go.
We'll get you set up. Go ahead and have a seat. So what we're looking at is the flight deck of a 737. So it's a virtual reality simulation, and the goal is to help pilots learn how to manipulate the different switches, the different checklists and run the different checklists that they need to run before actually getting to the simulators. So the simulators that airlines use are very, very expensive. So if we can help pilots get their flows and their profiles and know where all the switches are ahead of time, then it makes that simulator training a lot more valuable. And has the potential, in the future, we'll see, they have the potential to reduce some of that training, but right now we just want to prepare pilots for the simulator. I got involved in aviation because my dad is a pilot. He always came home with a big smile on his face. And then I grew up about 3 miles from here, so I saw a lot of little airplanes flying around, and I thought, that looks cool. And Dad comes home with a smile and ready to spend time with me. I want a job just like that. And so that's how I got into it. I expressed interest at a young age. I was fortunate I had my dad as a mentor, but then I look around at events like this and we're full of mentors to help these young ladies get along this path of aviation. There's so many ways to do it. There you go, yeah, that one. Nice. Events like this are so important because we're still a minority in all aviation fields, whether it's airline pilots, mechanics, air traffic controllers, or any other function in the FAA, we're still a minority. And a lot of young ladies don't know that there's opportunities out there for them. And events like this open their eyes. It also opens the parents' eyes to say, hey, this is an option for my daughter. So it's absolutely important that we have events like this just to get exposure. It's very hard to be what you cannot see. And so when you see someone who's done it, it opens up your mind to the possibilities that you can too.
Look out the back. Do you see your rudder's moving? It's wiggling. It's waving at you. I wish I had something like this when I was younger, just to know that general aviation was even a thing. My parents gave me a Discovery flight for my birthday. My older brother had one first because his birthday is before me, and I'm like, I really want that too. So first time in the cockpit, like I had never even been up front before. I think it's just totally has changed my world in so many different aspects, not just within flying, but it's really given me a lot more confidence. There were definitely days where I felt like giving in, throwing in the towel and giving up. But I just think, just start afresh. You don't have to be a pro from the very beginning. Just take the next best step and keep pressing forward because, it's lifelong learning, which is the whole goal here.
What we are here doing is inspiring girls, showing them all of the available workforce opportunities in aviation and in STEM careers. And the girls that are here today are really looking to see what kinds of local jobs can I get into? What's in our community? What's in our region? What's in our state? How can I get involved in aviation and other opportunities and activities in my area? STEM Flights, which is a national organization, a nonprofit, we connect middle and high school students with flight opportunities in their own communities because we know that singular flight experience can be so inspiring. So if we can take a kid in their own community, get them up above their town, up above their problems, they can look down and see that things are very different, and up here, the world is so much bigger, and what I can do is so much bigger. So sometimes that singular flight experience can really shape and change the trajectory of a student's life. And we feel like that's a win. We want to create more pilots, more STEM professionals, of course, but if we can inspire young people, especially girls, to get up there and get in that aircraft and see the world from a different perspective, then we know that we've inspired them and we know that they can dream bigger than they thought they could. So what we know about aviation is it's all about exposure. So if we can reach these girls at a young age, and studies are now telling us that as young as 5th grade, the girls are making a decision whether they're going to go into a STEM career. And aviation is a STEM career, so it's important that they get exposure. So at an event like this today, we have a lot of activities for them to try out, but we also have aircraft for them to sit in. We have drones with them to get their hands on. So it's that hands-on learning that these girls can do, talking to pilots, talking to STEM educators, talking to STEM professionals, and really deciding, hey, I think that this is a career I could go into.
So they're flying a DJI flight simulator, which has the same controls as our controllers, so they're getting a pretty real experience with how to fly the drones. Public outreach is huge for us, so for them to see that and get that exposure, maybe it sparks an interest in their minds, and it's something that they want to get into in the future. So, look at that, success.
So you saw a demonstration of our flight simulator that we use for a lot of recruiting events and to train cadets on just like basics of takeoff, landing, and just how the plane feels and work. Because sometimes younger cadets will want to do that before they actually get into the plane to do an O ride, so a free orientation ride with us. This is what we use to start off. Push forward, let's see if it's steady. Forward, gently. So Civil Air Patrol is the United States Air Force auxiliary. It is a civilian organization. We have a cadet program for kids ages 12 to 21. Girls are doing all of this cool stuff. Half of our squadron is girls. It's very even. Looking at it here versus on a website is like so much better. And so I'm really glad that these kind of events exist because I think last year we recruited like 5-6 cadets from this event, and now they're doing some pilot training. Like a year later. So it's very exciting. There you go, good job. I mean, this is my life. This is what I love to do. I know this is like a lot of other kids like absolute passion. This is what they like put most of their time into. And everyone around here is pretty like-minded. Like we are striving for the same things. We want to be leaders. We are making leaders here and we transform a lot of lives.
So it's a very cool experience to have girls see female pilots, graduates of the Air Force Academy, girls working in the mechanical area or managing airports. This is the future.
Joan Robinson Berry's pioneering spirit and inspiring leadership in the field of aerospace have broken barriers and elevated the industry during her 33-year career. Joan's trailblazing began early. She was the first African American from her childhood neighborhood to graduate from college with an engineering degree. Joan was the first female engineering graduate at California State Polytechnic University, Pomona, and the first African American program manager at McDonnell Douglas. At the Boeing Company, she was the first African American on the Boeing Engineering Process Council, the first Boeing Fellow to the African Scientific Institute, and the first African American vice president on the Shared Services Leadership Team. Joan led the way, and many followed. Until her retirement in July 2020, Joan served as vice president and chief engineer for Boeing Global Services, responsible for strengthening Boeing's enterprise engineering expertise and encouraging a company-wide approach to meeting customer, business, and operational priorities with an emphasis on safety, quality, and integrity. Joan's accomplishments are numerous. She has earned extensive recognition for her work in STEM from global organizations, including the National Society of Black Engineers and members of Congress. She was recognized in 2019 by Black Enterprise as one of the most powerful women in corporate America. And in 2017, Joan was among Women's Enterprise magazine's top 100 leaders in corporate supplier diversity. Her exceptional leadership and innovative big-picture technical skills have advanced global engineering and modification support for national defense and commercial services worldwide. Throughout her exceptional career at Boeing, Joan motivated women and minorities to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and math, and inspired many in the industry to continue her pioneering legacy.
I wanted to be a pilot ever since I was a little girl. I had to be about 4 or 5 years old. And I didn't see any women, I didn't see any black women, I didn't see any black women with eyeglasses who wanted to fly. And it took a long time, probably about 35 years, for me to come around and to find a way to get into aviation. And Women in Aviation was where I got my start. After that, there were other conventions, Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals, amazing, amazing affinity groups. But Women in Aviation was the first. This is where I got my start. An amazing place to help me out. So I think that Women in Aviation, or at least the role that Women in Aviation plays, historically has been the backbone of getting people jobs. And now it's to encourage community. Diversity, equity, inclusion, Women in Aviation plays an important role. One of the highlights for me, Women in Aviation, this is how I started my career in aviation. I met a woman named Captain Jenny Beatty, and she gave me a coffee mug. And on that coffee mug, there was one picture of Bessie Coleman, and on the flip side was 50 words that changed my life. It was about Bessie Coleman. I didn't even know who she was until I came here. It was just extraordinary to meet Captain Jenny Beatty and to learn about Bessie Coleman. I wrote a book, it's called A Pair of Wings, and it is inspired by the life of Bessie Coleman. And my goal was book, movie, just because I love movies, and I want to send 100 black women to flight school. The book, the movie, are all a part of the Jet Black Initiative, and I formed the Jet Black Foundation. Our goal is to raise $7 million and to get 100 black women through flight school. Women in Aviation is a great place to launch it. It's a catalyst, and I think Women in Aviation and the Women in Aviation will help us get there. My advice for girls and women who want to pursue this career in aviation, to fly like I did, is to join Women in Aviation, join Women in Corporate Aviation, join any affinity group. And then once you do that, to apply for any scholarship. Sometimes it's the scholarship dollars that you need, and sometimes it's the community of people who really do band around you once they invest in you. They want to see you grow. They want to help you do that. And Women in Aviation is the most prolific and robust example of that. They give out so many scholarship dollars, and they really do band around the people who they support.
I saw the employment of women really grow. I saw the advancement of women really grow. We went through a period when there were no women leaders or section heads in technical areas, and they, I think, took a proactive effort to try to get some women leading technical offices. You just get a better solution when you have people from a broader range participating and giving their ideas and discussing the issues. And there are lots of brilliant women who can contribute to that. You know, I always said I might not be able to lift 1,000 pounds, but there are other things I can do. So don't tell me what I can't do as a female. I really enjoyed the variety of what I did. I didn't do the same thing every day. Some days I'm writing computer programs, some days I'm going through developing equations, some days I am having models built, going into the wind tunnel, testing the models, and then analyzing the data, then going out to write papers and give talks on what I've done. So all of those were things that I did, and it was a great variety, and I really enjoyed that.
I think the best part about my job is being able to work on different projects. Every couple months there's always a new project coming in, so there's always something new to work with and new customers to meet. I hope that I'm an influence to other women, girls that are coming up in this, growing up and learning about different STEM activities. I'd like for them to be able to see that they can become successful as engineers at NASA. One of my favorite parts about my job is just being able to give tours to students that are learning about different math and science and engineering activities and some of the different things that they can do with that career field. Growing up, I didn't know much about wind tunnels, didn't really know what was involved, so I kind of want to pass along some of that knowledge.
So public relations interests me because
Everyone has a story to tell, and in order to tell that story, you have to reach your audience in a particular way. So for example, you're not going to tell college students the same story you're going to tell fifth graders necessarily. You're going to have different ways of sharing that story, whether through images or pictures or video, and framing things in a particular way so that it resonates with people is interesting and engaging. There's so many different avenues when it comes to science communications. Public relations is just one thing. You have journalism, you have museums and exhibits, a ton of different ways that science need to be communicated to non-science and non-technical people. I'm helping advance science through helping communicate science.
I'm Laura Mancevich. I'm an aircraft mechanic for Delta Airlines. We have many things that we need to do throughout the night. We do an initial walk around, check for our brakes, our tires, our lights, any pilot write-ups that we've got. As soon as we have done our walk around, we go up into the cockpit, check the hydraulics, check our engine oils. Sometimes we have to wring the wires out. We have to get meters and gauges out there and see what the symptoms are of the aircraft and get a little bit more diagnostics going on. Go through our schematics and narrow down and go from there. I got started by taking my brother to take a test to enter the Air Force. While I was waiting for him, one of the recruiters said, "Why don't you take the test also?" And so I did, and next thing you know, the recruiter was calling me as an aircraft mechanic. I went straight up to the high school and asked the counselor, where can I go to school to become an aircraft mechanic? I had no idea there was jobs out there. I started with a small commuter airline, then Delta called me up and says, "Would you like to come to Atlanta?" I said, "Sure." This gave me a very comfortable living. You can get into the major airlines, you can get into the small commuters, you can get into your corporate aviation. There's a very high demand for a good aircraft mechanic. The responsibility of being a mechanic is you've got to be able to have a very good character, very good responsible aspect within yourself. You've got to love action. You've got to love unexpected events happening. You've got to just love life, and if you love mechanical things, thinking outside of the box, and to know that this aircraft is going to leave the ground and leave with many people. I love my work. I enjoy seeing what I worked on that night leave in the morning with happy passengers, and it's kind of exciting to know that you put a good product out at the end of your day, to know that, yeah, somebody else can enjoy their day now too.
Whenever you win a scholarship, it's not only getting that financial burden released, but it's being able to connect with a new circle of mentors. And so being able to connect with Martha and John King, legends of aviation, just meant the world to me. I was one of those born to love aviation. So I lived out on a farm, and the only aviation I was ever connected to was aerial applicators, so crop dusters. And I would just sit out and I'd watch these yellow birds fly up in the sky, and I just absolutely enjoyed it so much that I just always knew I wanted to be a pilot. I would say what I am most proud of in my career is being able to connect a community of aviators. So in Kansas, not only are we involved in the Department of Transportation to be able to build infrastructure for manned and unmanned, but also being able to connect our community of aviators. There's such a history and a legacy of aviation in Kansas that being able to connect with each of those aviators and bring that community together to be able to build up aviation, that's my favorite part. I currently serve as the Deputy Director of both Aviation and UAS, or also known as drones. And one of our primary missions within our DOT Aviation Division is that we were one of the 10 sites selected to do the UAS IPP program, the Integration Pilot Program. And that allows us to do some beyond line of sight and advanced UAS missions that are not being done anywhere else. So being able to kind of trailblaze that path and create this new environment for the next generation of aviation, it's been fantastic.
friends that I've made here will last for the rest of my life. And the majority of people here have become family.
I just didn't want to be a number anywhere. I wanted to be a part of that team. Everyone I've flown with so far, from the flight attendants to the captains, they all really care about you. They want to get to know you as on a personal level, not just, oh, you'll fly with them once and that's it. Some of my best friends are at GoJet, so we're definitely a close family.
Even though you don't fly with the same person every day, you see them over and over again in the terminals, in the airports, in the office, wherever you are. Everyone knows you by your first name.
I can't say a bad thing about my coworkers. Management's been great. GoJet is where my family is.